Okay, this is Carla again, and we are on the nutrition label explanation part 2. We're going to talk about the lower part of the nutrition label now. We'll also talk a little bit about the upper part. To start with, I kind of ignored the entire right-hand side of the upper portion of the label earlier, and that was intentional. You can see by the asterisk here that the percent daily value is based on a 2,000 calorie diet. So since I don't personally eat a 2,000 calorie diet, those numbers up here really don't mean much to me. The other reason they don't mean much to me is that they are based on recommendations that come from the government about how much fat we should take in, how much carbohydrate and protein we should take in. And I personally feel that for me that the recommendations on carbohydrate intake are too high and protein is too low. And as we all move through this program, part of the work is to find what your distribution should be for you individually, because the way I eat may not be the way that you should eat, and we have to be able to find that composition for ourselves within reason, and I'll provide that guidance. But one person may need a higher percent of their calories from fat, or someone else might indeed need a very high percentage of carbohydrates. So I don't find these values helpful because they're based on just one distribution pattern of the nutrients, and we'll have ways to use information to figure out our own distribution. Then on the lower part of the nutrition label, they tend to list vitamins and minerals that the food item is high in. Sometimes they have to kind of stretch a little bit. You can see that they had to put vitamin C. They put vitamin C on the label, and yet it only provides 1% of the recommended daily allowance. Again, this is the Big Mac nutrition label. Probably just doesn't have much nutrition otherwise in it. But these are commonly listed. Calcium is always listed. I only pay attention really to the calcium, but if you were low in iron and needing iron-rich foods, you could certainly look at the percentage of iron and know whether it's a higher percent food or not. And 24% would actually be a pretty iron-rich food, and since it's red meat, that's not that surprising. What I do want you to know about the calcium, particularly for women, is that that percent is, you could figure out a way to tell you how many milligrams of calcium that is, and you simply multiply that percentage by 10. So if the food label here says it's 25%, you multiply that by 10 and you come up with 250 milligrams, and that is how many milligrams of calcium that food item has. In general, women need between 1,200 and 2,000 milligrams of calcium per day. So knowing how to interpret that percentage is helpful. As we move down, it tells you more information, again in the pattern of what the government says we should eat given a 2,000 calorie diet or a 2,500 calorie diet. And again, I don't eat that many calories in general. I guess if I was running marathons I would, and some of you will be eating that many calories, but because everyone's different, I just don't pay a lot of attention to these. And again, it's saying that if you have a 2,000 calorie diet, you should be having about 65 grams of fat and 300 milligrams of cholesterol, 2,400 milligrams of sodium, and 300 grams of carbohydrate. The line that is accurate, in my opinion, for most of us is the fiber line. And fiber in most of our diets is sadly lacking. The average American gets less than 12 grams of fiber per day, and we really do need 25 to 30. And some people may benefit from even 35 grams per day. So that is one line on the nutrition label that you can count on as being accurate for you, regardless of the number of calories that you're taking in or plan to take in each day. So again, foods that are higher in fiber are better choices. Going back to the sodium, I don't think I talked too much about what our goals are for sodium, but the government has suggested that 2,400 milligrams is the upper limit that we should aim for. American Heart Association advises 1,500 to 2,300 milligrams, but in reality you only need 500 milligrams per day to survive. So the lower the better. And again, 42% of the sodium in an average diet of 2,400 milligrams per day is not a good amount, and essentially is one of the several things that makes the Big Mac not a desirable food item. Lastly, at the very bottom of the nutrition label is just a reminder about how many calories there are per gram of fat. There are 9 calories. And then carbohydrates and protein both have 4 calories per gram. So you don't really need to memorize that, but I bet you'll have it memorized by the time the program's over. That's all for this little recording. We're going to learn about nutritiondata.com and a couple of other online programs that help you find nutrition information on foods that may not be labeled. So that's going to be the next video. Thanks so much for listening to this one.